only about a week later, and we lost another one. Jack hung up the boots today. He's retired. He followed his good mate Trent Cotchin, who retired about a week ago now, and Jackson announced his retirement today, and it hit me just as hard as Cotchin's did, if not a little bit harder for some reason. Maybe I don't know. Maybe with the result over the weekend, and then Jack being the second of the two, it's sort of starting to really sink in now that the generation of Richmond that I grew up with it's ended. It's done now. I know there's still a handful of players. You got Grimesy, Dusty, for example, and they're carrying it for a little bit. But I think these two in particular, Jack and Koch, are sort of the pillars of the Richmond that I really grew up with. I mean, if we're going way back, obviously you got, for me personally, you got Richo and Delidio and, Nathan Brown and guys like this. But I think in terms of from football that I was old enough to go to games by myself and go to games and start appreciating and really sort of have that depth of knowledge and appreciation for, I think it's Jack and Trent are probably the pillars of that, with Dusty as a close third. So I think with him retiring, it definitely makes it more real. It sinks in a bit more, and it's sad. It's hard. It's a bit hard to handle at the moment, I think, a little bit for a lot of us. I mean, we all saw it coming. I actually thought Jack probably had one more year left in him. I didn't think he was holding anybody out of the team necessarily, and I think with Lynch by his side next year, he could have had a bit of an impact. But obviously, it's time for him, and he's made that call. So I stand by him in the decision he's made. I know a lot of people agree with it as well. So won't be too many arguments there. And I mean, firstly, I'll start as well by mentioning that I'm not going to bother giving a review of Sunday's game. I think this news sort of trumps Sunday, and I don't think it deserves its own video. We all probably have a good idea how I feel about the way we went on Sunday, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. So I'm happy to skip past that. But in terms of Jack, I mean, I'll do the same I did with Koch. I'll read off some basic stats, but it's not the stats that make Jack the player or the man that he was. It was more than that. But if you want to talk about the stats, 3-time common medalist, 786 goals to today, 11-time Richmond goal kicking award. He's going to make that 12 when he wins this season. 3-time premiership player, 3-time All-Australian, 346 games, and 2-time best and fairest winner. So, and 1-time Mr. Brightside singer on grand final night 2017. So he's got a lot of memories with Jack. I mean, they go way back for me. I mean, I remember a game against St Kilda early in his career, and he had a shot after the siren to win the game, probably 60 metres out. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, leave the kid alone. How's he gonna knuckle this? He's a kid. Leave the bloke alone. Fast forward, 15 years nearly, or whatever it is that Jack's been in the season. It's in the league. Sorry, it's unbelievable to think about the memories that I have of him from such a young age, and to where we are now. To see that all come to an end, it's sad. It's definitely sad. There's a game against St Kilda. I'm pretty sure Jack kicked 7 or 8, and I was sitting behind the goals, third level, I think it might have been, and he's launched it from the goal square, and I marked it. And I'll never forget, I marked it, and I wanted to keep that footy so bad. I wish it was like the US when they're playing baseball, you can keep the ball when it gets into the crowd, but obviously the AFL doesn't do that, unfortunately. But I remember I marked the ball, and I turned to one of my sisters, who Jack Rewalt was her be-all, end-all. I mean, she was only born 2 years before he debuted, so she's literally grown up with Jack Rewalt. And I turned to her and said, "I got the footy, and she was young at the time, very young, and she was dead asleep at the footy. So it was she never got to grab the ball, because at the time, everything happened so quickly. You don't really get a chance to sit there, shake her, wake her up. So I let the kid next to me have a hold of the ball, took it back, threw it down. And for a while, that was one of my better memories of Jack Rewalt. Not that his performances, weren't any better than that, but it was probably a bit more personal. But then, obviously fast forward, and we could talk about the premiership years for days, 17, 19 and 20, and what they meant and what Jack did. I mean, 19, Jack kicks 5, unreal. Jack's goal in the 2020 grand final, the one just before Dusty's, the one that really sealed the win for us against the Cats was huge, and his spirit and his passion for the club were second to none. He bled yellow and black, and he really was that heart and soul player. I mean, he took over as that key forward for Richo, and I remember he really solidified that against the Eagles when he kicked 10, I think back in 2010, was probably one of the seasons where he really marked himself on the competition and said, I'm one of the better ones here. And he won the Coleman that year as well, I'm pretty sure. So he's definitely had his games. I'm trying to think. He's had some absolute rippers, and it's been a pleasure over the years to sit there and watch him perform. He was a character. His media appearances, the way he fronted up, and he spoke honestly about the club, and he was so accessible. It felt like it really never felt like you were too far away from Jack, which sounds weird to say, but I feel like just because of how much he was in the media and how open he was, and then the passion that he showed on the ground as well, you just felt almost like there was a connection between yourself and him, and that's what he offered to the playing group, but also the fans as well, which was huge, because a lot of the reason players become as passionate and emotive as they are is because of the fans. You look at 2020, the celebrations weren't as crazy, they weren't as nuts, and because there's no fans in the crowd, but then the year later, they're all back. So, no coincidence. But yeah, I'm doing this video, same as Cotchins. I'm doing this video without anything in front of me. I'm just trying to, say off the top of my head. So it's pure passion. I wanted to be raw with these blokes because of what they meant to us and the club, and seeing Jack come through. Jack came through when Richo was around. That's how long he's been around. He's been around that long now, and Shane Edwards was another one that was around with Jack, and they're all gone. It's weird. It feels weird. I feel like someone's died. I feel like I'm at a funeral right now talking about this. It's a weird feeling. I've got the photos of Jack here in front of me from the post I put up earlier today on Instagram, and you're looking at some of the ones where he was younger, and then he's got, and then as he ages throughout the years, and you just think, oh, geez, like we've seen a lot of Jack Rewalt football. When he was young, he looked like the Shermanator. He's probably turned from that a little bit. He doesn't look like that quite anymore, but sort of mature face. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm honestly just saying anything. Now, I found out Sunday that he was going to hang him up, but I was really hoping it wasn't true. A good mate of mine mentioned to me on Sunday after the Richmond Saints game, he goes, to make it worse, we've got Jack hanging him up on Tuesday. And I thought, you're kidding, really? Like, I don't know, because I was convinced in my head that he was going to go another year. So I kind of had the heads up, trying to process it a little bit, but then you're still kind of hoping that they were, that the person that told me was wrong. You know that they weren't, but you were hoping they were, sort of thing. And yeah, and then when he comes out, and obviously he announced it Tuesday, or the media, that's another thing that annoyed me, the media jumping on and say, oh, Jack Rewalt will retire today. It's like, just let the man do it. Like, it's, especially a player like that, I don't know, like, he's been around for so long, he's, provided so much for so many people, and then you don't even give him the opportunity, or the club the opportunity to announce that themselves. I don't know, really, I know the media, I know the journos are doing their job, and that's what they're paid to do, but I don't know, things like that. You sort of take the human aspect out of it a little bit. And I said the same thing when Dimmer left, and it was reported early that he was going to leave before he'd even announced it to anybody. And I know the club was given an opportunity to comment, but I don't know. I know it's a dog-eat-dog world out there in terms of the journos and the media and all that, but I think we've got to remember these blokes are human beings as well, and they have the right to be able to They have the right to be able to announce these things themselves. So, anyway, I won't touch any more on that part of it. I'll leave it there. It's been an unreal, how many seasons now? 15 years, whatever it might be. We've seen so many highlights over the years from his high marks, his high flying grabs, jumping jack, his goals. His unreal snap. He was snapping the ball a lot before anybody else was doing it. I don't know if he made it a trend. I'd still say it's Stevie J's trend, but he contributed a lot to that. To him jumping on stage with the Killers and singing with them. That's iconic. That'll go down in history. And there's heaps to look back on. So plenty of memories, plenty of highlights. Go back, enjoy them. There's plenty to look at. And apologies. The video wasn't really too structured or factual or anything like that. I'm probably just getting sort of my sadness off my chest in a little way that Jack's gone. So it's sort of hitting home now. I'm saying it out loud. And let's try to get there. Let's really try to get there against North this Saturday. It's going to be an absolute ripper. Look, it's a good opportunity to get a win. We really need a win for these boys. You'd assume it'll be Cochin's last game as well. I know it's Jack's, so see them go out together will be fitting, especially after a win. Hopefully they can both play well as well. That'd be really nice. But let's get there. Let's really try and pack the G out. I know it's a smaller game against North. There's not really much in it anymore. Finals aren't an option, so there's not much to play for. But let's play for these guys. I mean, how much they've done for us, they've provided to us over the years, and all. What we can do in return is not much, but one of the things we can do is rock up on Saturday, get to the G and watch it. I know people have local football games on and things like that. And that, I get that. I'm not, telling you to throw all that stuff in. But if you're not doing anything and you've got no other reason, just get down to the G and let's really send these guys off the way they deserve to be sent off. Because not everybody gets a fairy tale ending. I'm sure the fairy tale would have been finishing on a flag, and this obviously won't be that. But a win is still pretty good. So let's try and get that for him and get the crowd right behind him. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Appreciate all your support. Send through or comment some of your favourite memories about Jack. I'd love to hear what yours are because, there's plenty of mine. The video would have gone for another 2 hours if I went through all of mine. So I'm not going to do that today. But send me yours. I'd love to hear them. Until the next video, I'll be doing a North Melbourne preview. I'll probably talk about a little bit more about Trent and Jack and what they mean as well together. But until the North Melbourne preview, go Tigers.